Hello, good evening, welcome. Just past Shabbos Hagodol, Sipuri Maisis, Maisa Mechocham V'Tam. B'ezrat Hashem will learn some of the Maisa. B'ezrat Hashem will talk a little bit about Pesach, about what this is about. Hopefully, we will talk more about it on Wednesday. I don't know. I have to ask Avi Statman what he thinks about Thursday. Is it's little Bdikas Chametz, so I don't know if people will be available. I mean, supposed to check Chametz immediately, right after Maariv. Different people take different time. We'll find out. We'll talk about him, Mr. Hashem, on Wednesday. Anyhow, so meanwhile, back at the ranch, let's bring up the story, and obviously, all has anything to do with Pesach Bevale. All right. So after we have finished the Maisa from the Tam and what he was able to get through his Tmimus, now we're talking about the clever one. So, as we said in the evening, the letter from the king arrived to the clever one by a clever person. He was the clever emissary. The letter from the king arrived to the clever one, and he told the clever person who brought it to him, wait, stay the night. We'll discuss and make a decision. This is the strongest referral to the union of Chometz. The thing with Chometz and with matzah is that Chometz is the union of waiting, of contemplation. We spoke about it. We said when the king calls you, you run. You don't contemplate this, that, you run. And let's take a quick look here. In the evening, he prepared for him, for the guest, for the wise, clever guest that came to him. He prepared for him a great feast. While they were dining, the clever one analyzed with the cleverness and philosophy. And he spoke up and he said, what is this? That the king should send for me? For someone as lowly as I am? Who am I that the king would send for me? The king has such authority and prestige, and I'm so lowly and despised in relation to such a great and awesome king. Is it conceivable that the king would send for someone as lowly as I am? If you would suggest that it's because of my wisdom, what am I compared to the king? And doesn't the king have wise men? Also, the king himself is certainly a great wise man. So, what is this about that the king is sending for me? That's the akdama that he brings down. He was very, very astonished about this. The clever one, in other words, the original clever one, the friend of the simple one, there was all the words of the original clever one. The friend of the simple one, after he was greatly astonished and perplexed himself. he spoke up and he said these things to himself. And now he said to the clever messenger, you should know what I say. In other words, they have a radio program. Let's analyze the election in France. What is Putin going to do? How long the war in Ukraine is going to last? Who is going to win, Major League Baseball? Who's going to be champion this year? You speak to people. So let me tell you. Let me tell you the way it is. Just listen to me. I know. I'm a maven in these things. You should know what I say. I think the matter is absolutely clear and understood. There is no king in the world at all. The whole world is mistaken in this foolishness, thinking that there is a king. See and understand how this could be. That everybody subordinate themselves relying on one man, the king. Certainly there is no king in the world at all. Let's read a little bit more and start delving into this. So, but haven't I brought you a letter from the king? The clever messengers replied. Did you actually receive the letter from the hand of the king himself? Asked the original clever one. No. He replied, someone delivered the letter to me in the name of the king. So now the clever son says, well, now he spoke up and he says, now you see with your own eyes that my words are true. There is no king at all. Again he asked him, tell me, aren't you from the royal city? Weren't you raised there? Tell me, have you ever in your life seen the king? He says, no, he replied. Well, this is true. Not everyone merited to see the king. This is before the age of television, right? Because the king was not seen except in very infrequent occasions. The original one now spoke up. Now you can really see that my words are very clear. There is no king at all. For even you have never seen the king. No, if so, asked the clever messenger, who rules the country? Here comes the pundit again, the mumcha. This I can explain to you. I know all about it. I know who's going to win the major league and who's going to be voted president. I know everything. About the original clever one. You should ask me about this. Want to know? Ask me about this. Because I know a lot about this. I have the credentials. I have the title. You can see it a lot, when professors or movie stars or whatever it is they speak, they give their opinion about things that have absolutely nothing to do with their area of expertise. Writers. In Israel, it's very, very common. Writers, they're called people of spirit. Because everybody else is just going around like a donkey. And these guys can write books. Okay, so he's Anshe Ruach, there's Anshe Ruach Shtus. But they ask him, they're the moral compass of society, as it were. You're a professor for what? Anyhow, this I can explain to you, replied the original one. This I know. You should ask me about this. If you're ever in doubt, ask me. Because I know a lot about this. How come? When I was traveling abroad, I went to Italy. And the custom there is that they have 70 senators. They each lead the country for a certain period of time. And this way, everyone in the country takes a turn at the leadership, one after the other. Now the word started to influence the clever messenger until he agreed and decided that there's certainly no king at all. And the original clever once again spoke up and says, wait until the morning. I will clarify it for you again with proof after proof that there is no king in the world at all. And the original clever one got up in the morning, and we're referring to the clever one was the friend of the simple one, the original clever one. And he woke up with his friends, the clever messenger, says, come outside with me. Now I will demonstrate to you, clearly how the world is completely mistaken. Truly, there is no king at all. Everyone is greatly mistaken. They went to the marketplace, saw a soldier there. They grabbed him and asked him, who do you serve? The king? He replied. Have you ever seen the king in your life? They asked him. Nope. Look, there is such foolishness, the clever one remarked, right? Again, they walked to a captain of the army and entered in a conversation with him until they asked him, who do you serve? The king. See with your own eyes that it is clear that everyone is mistaken. There is no king in the world at all. And they agreed among themselves that there is no king at all. So how does this all come together? And how does this come into Pesach? What is this has to do with Pesach and the Seder Pesach and everything? Each and every one of us is approaching things in his life with a predetermined approach. We spoke about it a little bit last week. Some people, they feel that they're very wise. Some people feel that there's absolutely nothing good that will ever come out for whatever it is they do. They were a failure, and they're going to be a failure, no matter what they're going to do. It's not going to work up to nothing. Now the thing is, these are the original imprints that we have on our personality. We got them, from our parents, from where we grew up, from society around us, and it is called das. Das is the kind of pre-programmed way of perceiving anything that comes your way. And Lamaisa, it doesn't really matter what will happen to you, because you have got your mind already made up. Shem Yerachem, there was a pigua in Tel Aviv last week. And in this pigua, this revolting terrorist murdered 3 people and injured, I'm not sure how many. And then he ran away, and they tracked him down, Be'ez Hashem. And when they wanted to arrest him, he started shooting, they shot him, and they killed him. This episode was reported in a newspaper called The Guardian. It's an English newspaper. And the headline said, a Palestinian is shot dead, is shot or killed in an attack that left two people dead. The third victim didn't die yet. A Palestinian is killed in an attack that left two people dead. And you're watching this and you're saying, how can you lie more with the truth than that? When you read that headline, what do you read? You read that there was attack, probably Israelis attacked Palestinians, and they killed one Palestinian. You know, an attack that left two people dead. But what is the weapons and two people dead? It doesn't. First of all, a Palestinian was killed in an attack that left two people dead. That is because the preamblum of the English, not just the English, all over, but the England are very good with this. The BBC is like this, and the Guardian is like this. They all have a pre-programmed approach that the Jews are the aggressors. And it's all about the kibush, the occupation. Our terrorism started way before. In the 50s, the PLO was established in 1964. It was 3 years before the occupation. It doesn't matter. There is a pre-programmed das, a way of interpreting things that is already decided. It's a very famous thing that says, you know, my mind is already made up, don't confuse me with the facts. So their mind is already made up. So they already present the facts in such a way that fits their hakdamas, their own their own set of, they already made up their mind. The way that the mind is made up. We all approach our lives with a made up mind. We all do have this hakdamas in our minds. In fact, everything that happens to us, any new information that comes into us, is interpreted by that tfisa, that perception. And in fact, it never teaches you anything new. It just feeds your old perception. Whatever the facts may be, they just come in because of the way that you perceive things, you perceive reality, and it just augments and strengthens the way that you saw things all along. You see it by the Chacham. How does it start? It starts when he is astonished. Kadosh Baruch Hu should call for me. Such a king will call for me. A great king will call for me. Who am I? Because of my wisdom. What is my wisdom according to Kadosh Baruch Hu? He has all these, wise men within. He himself is wise. Why would he call for me? And it's very perplexing. Okay. So what's the maskana? There is no king. How do these things? How does it fit bichlal? You know, how does his state of mind and his tfisa, his perception fit whatever it is? Just because it doesn't make sense to you, what would the king would want with somebody like you? What does it make to you what the king wants with somebody like you? But the tfisa, the perception, the das that the Chacham had was devoid of tmimus. It's filled with chachmas. It doesn't make sense. The king should send for me. It doesn't make any sense. Such a because Baruch was sent for me. Why would he want with me? You know, it's like it's not your business. But being that I got a summons for the king, the first thing I'm saying, let me contemplate that. The minute you contemplate, what sense that such a incredible king? First of all, wait, let's sleep the night, and then we'll talk, and then we'll decide. That kind of waiting is Pchinas Chometz. Chometz means deliberation. What do you do with Chometz? You knead the dough and you let it rest. What happens? The air comes in. The yeast make the with the yeast, without the yeast, whatever it makes the dough rise, it means the air comes into it. That air is the ruach. And the ruach that comes in is the ruach of movement, is the ruach of the ruach is the interpretations that we give to our reality. Because reality in itself is made out of, simple, there's a person, there's a car, there's a sidewalk, that's reality. How do you know what's going on? What is making sense here? How do you make sense out of everything that's going on? That's the ruach. That's the side of the das. The minute that you have this kind of pre-perception, if you just let the ruach come in, you know which ruach is going to come in. That ruach, the way that you always saw things. Anything that will come to you, any new experience that will happen to you, will become interpreted in accordance to the way that you always perceived things. That was, and still is, the enslavement of Mitzrayim. The enslavement of Mitzrayim was a state of mind. You're a slave. You're a slave. You don't deserve anything. Nothing good will ever come out of you. And the perception is so strong that no slave has ever gone out of Egypt. They were not, the thing that enslaved them was not the whip in the hands of the Egyptian. The thing that enslaved them was, like the elephant in India, that when it's very small, they tie a chain to its leg, to a stake in the ground, and the elephant tries, to tear himself loose, but it's just a baby elephant, and he can't do it. From that moment on, it becomes a subtle thing in the mind of the elephant that if its leg is tied to a stake in the ground, he cannot move. So they have these big elephants, and they're tied, just with a small rope to a stake in the ground. That's it. And they can't move. And the reason they can't move is because in their minds, they can't move. This is the state of mind that we are preparing to get out in Pesach. The first thing that we need to do is we need to make bdikas chametz. And bdikas chametz, then we're supposed to burn it. There's I think I mentioned the one before. There's a quip from Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, Zechatzal Libracha, the Rabbi of Yerushalayim. He said both the housewife and the cat are both looking for mice in the kitchen. The difference between them is that the housewife is looking for mice to make sure that there are no mice. The cat, on the other hand, is looking for mice in order to find the mice. It wants to find mice. That's the whole point, right? In other words, Bir Chametz does not come to ascertain and put a seal of approval on the fact that we are no good. What do you want to tell me again? That I'm no good? What do you think? I don't know this by myself? What do you now? You want me also to start looking for chametz? You're looking for crumbs of I didn't do good there and I didn't do good there, and here's another instance that I didn't do good. I know it already. What do you want to look for also? The answer is not that. The answer is I'm not looking for the things that I'm wrong. I'm not the cat. I'm the housewife. It means I'm looking for places where in my own psyche where Kadosh Baruch Hu is not there yet. I had a conversation with my wife the other day. There was something that happened with her, with her mother, whatever it is, a mix-up pharmacy, blah, blah. So she got very frustrated. So, let's daven for it. We daven for it, whatever it is. Baruch Hashem, so thereafter, whatever it is, it was taken care of. So I told her, listen, if these kind of frustrating things are happening to you, why don't you tell me? Tell me about it. We'll daven for it. So my wife said, listen, this is ego. This is gaiva, I'm going to daven for it. So it has nothing to do with it. I didn't say that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to give me what I'm asking for. If he wants to, he'll give me. If he doesn't want, he won't give me. That's not what it's about. The point is that the point of view of a Kadosh Baruch Hu is that of a Rachmanas father, which means that when my child is asking me for something, my point of view is, the default answer is yes, unless there's a reason to say no. Or wait. But the default answer is, of course, it's my son, why not? You ask him. Usually when these things are happening and you're trying to, to force things your way, many, many times, I don't know, most times I have no idea, but many, many times, the reason why these frustrating things are taking place is because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is not there. You are handling it all on your own. How do you get the Kodesh Baruch Hu into it? You ask Kodesh Baruch Hu, please help me. Do this. Help me this. Help me for this to happen. Boom. Most times, that's all that's necessary. What we're looking for in Bdikas Chometz is not for proof that we are small and you're worthless and nothing, and it is all going to end in tears no matter what we do. Fakir, we're just looking for places where is the Kadosh Baruch Hu still not in me, in my life. And by making Bdikas Chometz, this is what we're doing. The Maisa of Bdika, of searching for the Chometz, with the right state of mind, is already poil on my nefesh, because it is the Maisa that influences the nefesh. The entire Seder is 100% the tam, from beginning to end. First of all, the holding of matzah, out. The king calls you, you run. No time to talk, run. When you come to think of it, it says, why do we eat matzah? Because the dough of our grandfathers didn't have enough time to become chometz. So, Chazal said they were steeped in 49 gates of Tumah, and had they remained and gone into the 50th gate of Tumah, Chas v'Chalila, they would have never ever gotten out of Mitzrayim, Chas v'Chalila. So, how close were they to get to the 50th gate? What's a big deal, to have a dough raised to make a decent pita instead of a matzah? How long does it take for a dough to rise? The biggest shear is 24 minutes. Today we hold 18 minutes, but the biggest shear is 24 minutes, which means if we were to stay in Mitzrayim for 24 minutes more, we would have plunged into the 50th gate of Tumah, which is Apikorsis, and would have never ever gotten out of Mitzrayim. Which means that our perception of reality would have been cemented like the clever one. There is no king. Would have never ever gotten out of Mitzrayim, 24 minutes away. That's chipazon. That's haste. In order to get out, not to act on your pre-perception, you have to simply act. There's no time to think it over. There's no let me sleep on it. There is no sleeping on it. You sleep on it, you'll never get out of it. Because what will happen is that your perception of how wrong you are and how worthless you are and how you'll never do anything and be anything and amount to anything will simply take over. And whatever information will come your way, it will already be digested into your way of seeing things all the time. And whatever messages you'll get will simply cement your preconceived notions. No time. Chipazon. Quickly. So what do I do with my chesronos? You burn them. Burn them. Forget about it. You found it? Good. Burn them. That's it. Don't dwell on this and that. When you have Isbaidadus, then you can dwell whatever it is, take the Kodesh Baruch. But even then, just the basic thing is you mention it, yes, Kodesh Baruch will do a makar of you. It's not time for whining and I'm this and I'm that and I'm this and I'm that. Yeah, you have to mention it, yes, and the things that you don't measure up. But the main thing is not, to a woe is me kind of session. That's not what it's about. What it's about is that I needed to be makar of me. That's why I'm mentioning this. And then comes the Seder. The Seder means that we are getting a whole brand new Ruach to elevate us, to get us out of our preconceived notions. This is Al Pisod, why they say that the Seder not Kadosh Baruch Hu, simply, took us out of Mitzrayim, with a skip. Because the thoughts of the preconceived notions of people are like you are walking on, like in the airport, they have these moving strips. You have the long corridors from one gate to another. So instead of having to walk so much, it's tired, whatever it is, so they have these moving floors that you come, you stand on them, you hold on, and it drives you towards that gate that you're looking for, or whatever it is leading to. The preconceived notion is exactly such a moving strip, except that it's moving you backwards. Which means when you're trying to go against your story, against your preconceived notion, every step forward you take, it takes you at least one step backwards. So in the best of cases, you'll be standing in the same place. Most cases, you'll be moving backwards. That ruach, that pre-perception, that pre-programming, that story of Chometz, of Mitzrayim, is so strong that even if we were to run, if you're trying to deal with it, you're trying to outthink it, let's see, let's figure it out. Why would the king call for me? Why would this? Who am I? What am I? This, that. You're never getting out of it. You can run, and it will move you backwards faster than you can run. The only way to get out of it is to pick you up and bring you to where you need to be. Seder night, all the lights, all the oirs come in one fell swoop. That's it. No other way to get out of Mitzrayim. You're not going to deal with this moving sidewalk that is going against your direction. I'm going to pick you up and take you. It's a more ridiculous thing, when you take a look at what's happening with Yitzis Mitzrayim. Kadosh Baruch Hu said before Matan Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, "Vayisal etchem al kanfen neshama v'avi etchem elai." I will, and now I'm going to give you my Torah. That's the beginning. Matan Torah starts. Well, I carried you on wings of eagles, and I brought you to me. There's the most amazing unculus on this pasuk. What does it say? He says, I took you in Mitzrayim that night, and I took you to Yerushalayim. I took you to Yerushalayim. That night that you slaughtered the Korban Pessach? I took you to Yerushalayim, to the Mesa Mikdash, and there you shechted the Korban Pesach, and then I brought you back. You did not. This is what Onkelos says. Onkelos means when you want to know what the pshat of the Torah is, you look at Onkelos. What is Onkelos saying? He says, I carried you as if on the wings of eagles all the way to Yerushalayim to shech the Korban Pesach and bring you back. Kadosh Baruch Hu is telling the people, Am Yisrael, listen, there is no nature, there is no teva, There is no story. Everything that you preconceive, that you have this perception, forget about it. It's wrong. I'm taking you out, and when you bring a carbon, in Mitzrayim, you shot the carbon, I'm taking you, it's actually, you know what's happening? It's happening in Yerushalayim and Beis HaMikdash. It's not happening in Mitzrayim at all. I carried you like on the wings of eagles. The problem is that we are getting into Leil B'dikas Chametz, preparation of the kitchen, and sitting by the Seder, and saying the Agoda with a preconceived perception that what? This has to be the most amazing experience. This has to be the most uplifting experience possible. I have to be sitting there by the Seder, and it has to be absolutely amazing. What happens if it's not amazing? All right. Okay, so I did the Seder. But between you and me, I was saying the Agada, already saying, listen, let's hurry up the Agada because I'm hungry, I want to eat. I just get moving. There's no patience. Why is there no patience? Because the preconceived notion, nothing will come out of it. I'm not going to achieve anything. It's all going to end in tears. There's no reason for me to be patient now in the Seder and do word for word and say the Agada. The only thing you need to do, the Agada, is simply say it and do. There is no other night in the year. There's no other Avodas Hashem that we get in any Yom Tov which is so full and rife with instructions. Here you do this, here you do that. Now you reveal the matzahs, now you cover the matzahs, now you fill the glass, now you drink the glass, now you spill out of the glass. There's no other anything except do and do and do and do and do and do and do. So what happens to the euphoria? What happened to the nirvana I'm supposed to be? Forget about it. Yiddishkeit is not about feeling the high. Because Baruch Hu wants to give you a gift, he'll give you the high. Don't worry about it. But the main thing is that you do. The doing and doing and doing and doing is the thing that changes the Ruach in you. While you are doing, you're just doing. You're saying the Agada, you're sending first of all, the state of mind, you're dressed with the white kittel and the most gorgeous silverware that you own. Everything's supposed to be there. You are a melech. You are cheres. You are free. You are a tycoon. The opposite of everything you think. Now, how you feel, you don't forget it, but just go ahead and do it. And you know what happens? Kodesh Baruch Hu says, while you're being in your Mitzrayim, while you're being in your Moichem de Katnos, in your preperception, you think, okay, so I'm doing the Seder and this and that, and this kid is doing this, and that kid is doing that, and this one is doing this, you're doing that. My wife is already telling me, hurry up, and this and that. Well, all these things, while this is happening, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling me, I'm taking you to Yerushalayim, to Shech Korban Pessach, Beis HaMikdash, while you're doing these simple things. What do you want to feel this? You want to get it through these coarse feelings of yours? Forget about it. Just do what you need to do. Go ahead. You're doing every single word you're saying is Kodesh Kodeshim. Every single act that you do is rife with secrets and mysteries that you can never even imagine. All you need to do is do. And what about, I don't feel it? So what? Leave to Caesar what's Caesar's. It's a Kodesh Baruch Hu's problem, not mine. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants it. It's a gewalt. And say it loud. Say the Haggadah loud, because the Haggadah is Shmiras Habris. Saying it, just the saying itself is fixing you, is correcting you, is cleaning you. This is where the Chacham failed. Let's sleep it over. In the morning, we'll make a feast, we'll talk. Okay, what happens when you talk? Preconceptions come in, there's no king. And everything says the fact that, did you see the king? No. Oh, see, there's no king. You said soldier, well, you said the same. You ever seen the king? There's no king. What about the captain? Captain, he was a tzaddik, they already have a saga. Have you seen the king? No, you haven't seen the king? There's no king. Chazal says, Lo Ra'isa Ein Ra'ya. Haven't seen is not a proof. Anyhow, Bezat Hashem, we will continue on Wednesday. Hopefully, we'll talk more about the Seder. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit about, the different inyonim of the Seder itself. And Kodesh Baruch Hu should help us, Bezat Hashem, that we should be zocher to taste Pesach. Not just the preparation for Pesach, but Bezat Hashem, at Pesach itself, we'll be zocher to Pesach Mamish.